Good afternoon. I'm Alexio Picco. I'm the Managing Director of the Circle Group, and welcome to the Connecting You Insights Winter Edition. We were supposed to have this winter edition in Brussels in order to have some, let's say, new kind of digital event in which we mix talks and with people in presence and digital remote presence, but it was not really feasible or for the times we are living. We started this morning with the first event of the series, that was the Smart Sea event, and this afternoon we have these talks we decided to have with my good friend Fernando Liesa, that is the Secretary General for the ALICE European Technological Platform for Logistics. Good afternoon, Fernando, first of all.
Good afternoon, Alexio.
And the idea is just, thanks, you are welcome. The idea is just to have a little bit of discussion for a specific reason. Fernando is managing a very relevant network for logistics in which ports are represented. You have in your network a number of mainly big ports. At the same time, as a spin-off of one of our projects, we are managing a so-called network of excellence of ports, of the ports of the future, with more than 20 members so far, that is called Docks the Future. So we are in a way both representing ports, and in our discussions, when it was feasible even to meet in front of a beer, we started to discuss, I mean, which are the real needs of the ports in terms of research, of course, but also in terms, more generically speaking, in innovation. So let's try to have a little bit of common thoughts about achieving the smarter sustainable strategy goals in 2030, joining Docks the Future and ALICE. And this was the idea, and this is the idea of today. So it's just a brainstorming between myself and Fernando, just a number of Q&A between us on really key topics. So I would start to ask you one question, Fernando, and it is about a clear trend that is currently running. So ports are now really becoming energy hubs, not only connectivity hubs, but also there is a lot of interest in having in ports energy transition activities, let's say. They have much more infrastructural and logistic needs than in the past. And how do you see those needs reflected in the ALICE roadmaps and future agendas, and how can we combine efforts, in your views, in terms of port infrastructure and related logistics?
Okay, Alexio, thank you for the question. Before going into that, actually in ALICE we have a few ports, but ALICE has many other types of stakeholders, so then we can address subjects from various types of stakeholders in the logistics point of view, and I cannot say I can represent ports because I think it's complex, but I know which elements or which are the challenges of some ports, and particularly in the research and innovation. On what you said, first of all, I think we need to understand the framework in which we are working now. I mean, basically the Green Deal for the European Commission, and also based or following to that, last year the Smart and Sustainable Mobility Strategy was published by the European Union, and they're clearly one of the flagships. It's to achieve zero emission ports and airports as one of the objectives. So then it's clearly that ports are more in the agenda, and it's said, as you said, that it's not that they need to be zero emission, but they need to really act as energy hubs in the energy transition towards zero emission. So the role of ports is really important. In our case, we publish also the zero emissions roadmap, and there are a lot of different alternatives how we can decarbonize freight transport and logistics. And many of them are also related to the ports in terms of how you can move from one mode to the other, and ports can do a lot on that, but also how you transition the different vehicles and assets for the transportation. And as you said, the ports need to move into this direction and become energy hubs of renewable energy, and that's creating a lot of complexity, also because in many cases, ports are also places where all type of energy is produced or handled, or we have refineries and all that. And we see this is a little bit of a tension between what is coming from the past in terms of energy and business in the ports and what it needs to come in future. And this transition, it's really going to be very important, not only for the ports, but for the whole transportation and logistics. And there is where I think it's very important that we really, our network, put this challenge clear, so then we can also support these communities in order to have the dialogue with the relevant stakeholders to move and make better use of the different programs. And for example, based on this, we had a call in the Horizon 2020 program still on the Green Deal call, and there are two main projects called Pioneers and Magpie were funded, and there I think a lot of these challenges will be tried to address in these lighthouse projects. But my feeling is that it's not enough. There is a lot of investment needed in infrastructures, in energies, and also understanding not only the ports ecosystem, but what it's outside the whole logistics and supply chain to really create these zero emission ports and hubs.
Thanks for that. This is the main points. You raise really the main points in terms of energy transition. It's really a period in which you see a clear switch about this. I mean, since ever, I may say, because I'm old enough to say that I saw many, let's say, environmental waves in a way, but this is definitely the most powerful one in terms of policy, in terms of sustainable finance, in terms of taxonomy, sustainable finance behind industry moving there. So it's really like that. It's really like that.
From our point of view, we are really in contact with the European Commission, the institutions, and particularly on the research and innovation program. And in Alice, we have already the input from big ports, but I think your network has really not so big ports, has a very broad portfolio of ports. And I would be really interested if you could tell me which are the main challenges and opportunities perceived by those type of ports in regards to the energy transition, but also on digitalization, that for us in Alice, both energy transition and digitalization come somehow together. So could you elaborate on that?
Yeah. I mean, I would start from the energy transition to link to the first question. I mean, maybe what I'm saying, it's also true for not very small ports, or also for bigger ones, but specifically for small ports, they need support to understand where they are. What I mean is that think about also, I mean, the number of alternative fuels that are available now for the maritime sector. Okay, LNG is still there since a number of years, and now you have hydrogen, you have methanol still, you have ammonia coming, the different kind of hybrids, mechanism, cold ironing, and electric for engine. So a number of different things running. And as for ship owners, I mean, it's very difficult for them for small ports to try to pick the right choice, because in a way they have to follow the market, they have to follow the maritime market. On the other hand, they want to develop something that is distinctive, to be more competitive. It is always the chicken and egg problem. But what they would need is a global master plan to have a little bit of support to develop their own Green Deal port master plan, in which they set their own way to go through decarbonization, to go to 2030. And then they put in practice a number of different projects and steps and activities to go there. This is something that is true not only for alternative fuels, it's true for everything that is related to sustainability, circular economy activities that could be done in a port. Ports they are really big words in which many things you can really do for sustainability and circularity also. So what they would need is to be supported in this, to create their own plan, to set their own way to go to 2030. This is specifically true because unless you do that, you know, in many situations, you see that when they have funds available, they list a number of activities, you know. They say, okay, let's do that, let's do that, let's do that. But I mean, the full global coherency comparing also what is running in the market in the industry sometimes is not so evident. In terms of digitalization, I think again, I mean, ports are in the middle of complex multimodal supply chains, and what they need more and more, further and further, is interoperability. Interoperability is a key point, and interoperability may be transposed and translated in different ways. Specifically, now there are a number of regulations coming, both in maritime and in multimodal, the European Maritime Single Window Environment Regulation and the Electronic Freight Transfer Information Regulation, that are going to change also the environment, if not directly in the port, if anything around the port. And that means that by the fact that they should be closely digitally interconnected, they need to evolve to a model in which interoperability is the first, is a master, is really, you know, the key point in which they have to focus on. And this is particularly true in both cases. The case they have already a sort of port community system, okay, and in that case they should evolve what is a single window towards a fully interoperable mechanism, or the case in which they have not, because as you know, many countries, they have still not developed, and that means that the different operators, they should make themselves interoperable with the rest of the world. And this, so port that anyhow could facilitate the digital structuring of the interoperability layer for the near future. This is, for me, these are the key points in terms of small ports, in terms of needs in energy transition and digitalization. But coming to giving back the question to you a little bit, Fernando, on this, on the digital agenda for port and multimodal supply chain, I see that what I mentioned before, the two regulations, the European Maritime Single Window Environment and the Electronic Freight Transfer regulations, they will bring a number of challenges for sure in the ports also. How do you see this reflected in your network, in your members, and also in the physical internet concept and in the physical internet roadmap that is a distinctive point of what Alice is doing since a number of years?
Okay, Alexio, before going into your question, I would like to build on what you said in having the clarity in which type of technologies. I think that the diversity of technologies in terms of energy transition is very good, but at the end, it's also preventing going on the investments. And I think bringing that clarity, without that clarity, will be complex, particularly for small ports. Maybe bigger ports can have more or less all a strategy, and then we see how it goes to revisit. But for smaller ports, I don't think it's, and that's a good point. Many times I see we invest a lot of research and innovation money in trying to provide particular solutions without understanding really how the market is going to evolve, or providing this, what you said. I think there it's concretely an important need on understanding how we could address this this problem from a much more holistic point of view, and I completely agree with that. Then basically going back to your question on these regulations and the challenges, I think it depends how we work with them. This could be either a challenge or an opportunity, because my feeling is that one of the main problems we have is that we used not to be able to collaborate in the freight transport and logistics, or it's difficult to collaborate. Why? Because when you collaborate, or to start collaboration, you need to agree how you are going to move around that collaboration. And setting up collaborations is costing so much that sometimes is preventing going to a more efficient environment. While I think these regulations are trying to make it collaboration easy by creating standard protocols, processes, so then you can already collaborate whenever you want without going in this setup cost. So then making collaboration easy. And that's for me one of the key objectives of these regulations. When you move along this implementation and you make this irresistible for the stakeholders to take over, because it makes or it facilitates collaboration and it's not creating an additional burden, then we will achieve the objective. And actually, this is the idea of the physical internet, how you can really move in terms of physical and digital interoperability, so then you can start collaborating or access resources and processes with zero or low marginal setup costs for that collaboration. And also to understand how the world is evolving. We see now the increase in container ship rates. So then it went to the roofs. So then all this trend in which we wanted the mega ships and all that because of reduce the cost on port calls. Then we see these ships that are in congested ports, and we see, for example, I saw a video yesterday that I recommend you on how different retailers are facing this. And for example, some retailers, big retailers in the US, are already chartering maybe 1,000 TEUs ships with their goods, and they're, instead of calling to the regular port, they are calling to a smaller port. So then they decide, even in the sea, which is the port call the port they are going to call depending on the situation. And this flexibility in the supply chain, in which you can combine really big ships with the smaller ships, and then having this integrated, we really believe this digitalization should support that. And there are some companies that have been built in the last 10, 20 years based on that, and I think they are really better positioned to compete than the traditional companies. But I think it's really important to get everybody on the same page, so then we can really deal with that complexity in a more flexible way. And that's also an opportunity for a smaller ports because of the different. One friend of mine said, when we knew the answers to the questions, suddenly the questions were changed. So then we cannot try to answer in the same way. And I think this is happening now, and that's why we need a digitalization really to support that we can move from one process to another, or one context or one solution to another in a very agile way. The question for me is now that I truly believe digitalization, following the physical internet concept, as I was explaining, makes smaller players ports to get easy access to customers and suppliers, and to the developments to scale up solutions. And because our understanding is that, for example, big ports can have their own platforms in which the applications can be built around their platforms. But what I would like to see in future is that these platforms are interoperable. So when somebody develops an application from one port, can be portable to another port, and probably to a smaller port. So then this is the vision of the physical internet. But how could you reflect on this, if you really believe on that, and how physical internet could really support the smaller ports that maybe they don't have the full capability also to develop the digital platform, so then they could create more an ecosystem in which different applications could work for different ports?
It's a very good question, and the example you gave before in terms of flexibility is already a good example on how goods could take different path as the data in the internet, the US example. And I have also some other examples in which the digitalization stack is really important. In some EU projects, research projects, we are now trying to develop the concept of an autonomous ship to do very small feedering between big ports and small ports very close, let's say 60, 70, 80 kilometers okay, and totally autonomous in terms of loading, unloading, and then delivering, okay. And this, of course, should be based on the fact that the flexibility of the interoperable systems behind should give the flexibility to operate those in a way that could be effective for all the chain. So interoperability again is a key factor here, and I do believe that this is even more important because there are a number of 2 or 3 trends running in terms of how digitalization, the physical internet concept, sharing data, making data interoperable also for smaller ports, for smaller locations are really important. The first one is that big ports are even more linked to small ports in a cluster and even terminals in the interland. And in order to make it effective, I mean, the physical internet flexibility there is a must. The second one is that more and more in the regional port environment, you are always also doing added value logistic activities, not only shifting container here and there, but opening containers, do some added value logistics, and then restuffing again and sending. And again, it's a matter of flexibility first, and it's a matter of bringing together the industrial logistics with the transport logistics. So two points that are, for me, totally in favor of the physical internet. And the third one, even more, is that there are more and more free zone or supported logistics zone developed in Europe, and that is again something that could give the possibility to have added value logistics, different activities, meaning that you can open the container, stuffing, stripping again, shifting, and the flexibility of having the goods moving in different directions, different nodes, with interoperability and flexibility given from the physical internet concept is a must. So I see a number of good reasons why the physical internet in big and small ports should be boosted as much as possible. So thanks for that. I think we are at the end of the time that we had for this, Fernando. It is, at least for me, it is very clear that we have a number of topics that we could work together with, and we can discuss together how to set up some activities, common activities, maybe a digital event. Let's see, let's discuss it about how to bring together those issues and how we can together better represent ports in their needs for the future, if you agree on that, of course.
Of course, Alexio, for us, indeed, logistics nodes and ports are one of the main areas of intervention in one of our thematic groups, and we clearly see with all what we are discussing, the energy transition, the digitalization, they are really critical to achieve all what we want to achieve in terms of Green Deal and EU. And we see sometimes there is not so much or enough focus on those, and there are a lot of challenges that need to be addressed, and in which ports can support really all the type stakeholders to achieve their objectives. And I clearly see we need to continue the collaboration and make this more clear, evident towards our member stakeholders and the whole public on the importance of ports and also the challenges they need to face, so then they are appropriately taken. So yeah, for sure we will move along this direction, Alexio.
Very good. So that means that in 2022, you will see together Fernando and myself again with some initiatives on our networks. Thanks a lot again, Fernando. Thanks for you to attend this meeting, this event. And okay, let's hope for a very nice Christmas and time, and for a very good 2022 with some physical meeting again. That's the hope we have, because they make the difference. And keep in touch with the Connecting EU Insights and with the activities of the Doxa Future Analysis. Thanks a lot, and enjoy the rest of Connecting EU Insights tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.